Hey, it's Chris and Brian here. In the last video we talked about desktop specification, specking out a desktop, how we spec them out for clients. And Chris, mentioned what we look for in terms of that. Let's talk about laptops and how we would spec out a laptop. Why don't you take it away, Chris?
Yeah, so the same specs, you know, Windows 11 compatible, all that fun stuff, PPM, secure boot support, what you'd want on a laptop as well. Some things to consider though that you probably wouldn't with the desktop is the screen size. Generally, we don't recommend less than a 15-inch screen, laptop screen. Anything below that, you're really the fidelity is just not that good. You'd be 12, 13 inches at a 720p resolution is just, you know, hard to view everything. So we'd recommend at least 15 inches. Then you want the resolution to be either, 1080p or higher. So, and then you get some of the resolution words. You got, Ultra HD, also known as 4K, which is 3840 by 2160. Missing on this list 1440p, I believe. Yeah, 2560 by 1440. That's QHD, regular high definition, which is 1080p. So you'd want at least 1080p or higher on a 15-inch screen. So, there are a lot of people I know that prefer at least 17-inch screens, but finding like a business grade laptop, a Dell laptop that is, with a 17-inch screen like a Latitude, it's kind of hard to come by, at least from what I've seen. And then you
Oh,
got things, Q, then you got Apple has the Retina displays there, but on like a Windows device, you'd most likely see IPS or OLED display, and that that then there's features like HDR, all that fun stuff. But that usually doesn't go into a decision on a regular work laptop for general, you know, browsing the internet, using Word, things of that nature.
right. But what we're running into a lot of times these days is people just foregoing the whole desktop and just saying, "Oh, look, I'll just use the laptop full time." And I think, like Chris is mentioning, screen quality is extremely important. Now you can hook up monitors to the laptop, so you have multiple monitors and all that. But I think if you're working full time on a laptop, you really want to keep in mind the screen resolution size and getting the best screen you can.
Yeah. So another thing too is I don't know if you'd see this anymore, but a TN panel is not something you want on a monitor or a laptop screen. It has terrible viewing angles, things of that nature. It used to be used on like gaming monitors way back, where you got higher speeds and feeds, you would say, refresh rate. But generally, it has poor viewing angles. The colors are washed out. So if you're doing some kind of, I don't know, video editing, you do anything with photography, you'd want something that's IPS or OLED for the color accuracy, or even a
Okay,
VA panel. Yeah.
so I want to re-emphasize that I'm okay if I buy IPS screen or an
Yeah.
OLED screen. I'm good to go.
OLED's going to be higher quality. But yeah, they
Yeah.
both fairly accurate color wise. I think VA panels have better blacks or high contrast. I could be wrong, but I don't think you're going to see many of those screens on like a laptop. You'll mostly see either IPS or like a high end laptop may have OLED. Starting this year, you'll probably see a lot more OLED screens flooding the market.
Okay, cool. So let's take a step back for a second. Let's talk about, okay, laptop size. You don't want too small of a laptop. I think Chris mentioned that. Typically, we like Dell. We like Dell Precision for higher end laptops, or if you need it for CAD drawings and things like that, or the middle
It's
of
an
the road, not Optiplex, Latitude
Yeah.
line from Dell, which is a nice laptop, but they tend to have smaller screens. So sometimes we have to buy Precisions for the larger and better screens. In case they didn't watch the last video, let's just go over the specs again that we would look for in a laptop. Pretty similar, just about the same as a desktop, right? How much memory?
Yeah. So you'd want 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gig NVMe drive, and then a i5 or Ryzen 5 that's Windows 11 compatible. I say that i5 or Ryzen 5, because if it's just for general workstation use, they probably don't need the, you know, the step up i7, Ryzen 7 with higher core counts and all that. So that's something. The one thing we didn't mention though is maybe reviewing the battery life. Depending on what the laptop's being used for, is it going to just be plugged in? You know, you mentioned them replacing a desktop computer. Who knows? Maybe they don't leave their desk with it. Battery life is something to consider. And if it's like a 2-in-1 laptop, like some kind of Surface or Chromebook.
Yeah, yeah, excellent point. Forgot about the battery. A lot of people do, if they're using them full time, do leave them plugged in. I think those specs that you gave us would put you, you know, in a solid place, you know, as far as laptop goes. And I think we'll try to do another video on talking about refurbished laptops and desktops. So give options for the more budget conscious consumers out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Tell-
Thanks.
yeah,
Thanks a
you
lot,
got,
Chris.
all right.